Welcome to the Tuesday edition of Juan's World, and after Christmas, New Year's and all of the rest of it, I'm back to my alternation of Tuesday recipes and Friday ramblings. And today I'm going to talk about making marzipan. Now, marzipan I have never made before, and so this is somewhat experimental for me as well as for you perhaps. And I'm going to make marzipan, and then as you see in this image, I'm going to make some marzipan fruit. Very traditional for Carnival. So let's get started. Alright, now parts of this process are not going to be very visually stimulating, largely because it's going to be done with a food processor and it makes a lot of noise, so can't really do it with any degree of success, I don't think. But we start off with 1 cup of almond flour. Now you could do this in 2 ways. You could do it with a food processor, as I am, or you could do it by hand. But I'm going to try with the food processor. If it doesn't work terribly well, I'll show you how to do it by hand. Next step is to add 1 cup of icing sugar. Now here's the thing. The basic proportions are 1:1 icing sugar to almond flour, but different recipes and different cooks do things differently depending on they want more or less sweetness, and so some will add less icing sugar, not more, but the half and half is what I'm going with. Our ingredients are going to be almond flour, icing sugar, and rose water. And rose water is what's going to bind everything together. In the old days they used to use egg whites, and nowadays some people use honey, but I'm just going to use water flavored with rose, so that the finished product is a mixture of almond and rose. It's what I like. It's very traditional. But you could also use almond extract in addition or in place of the rose water. The first step is just simply to combine the sugar and the almond flour. So I'm going to turn this off now and set my processor working just to get them all nicely combined, and then I'm going to add the rose water. Now I hope you can see that a little bit of processing has mixed together the almond flour and the icing sugar, and it's also broken down any lumps and crushed the flour a little bit finer than it was. I bought the almond flour already ground, but it was a little bit coarse and it's now finer. This step is the step I'm not sure about. I usually do this step by hand. I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of rose water and then get them all combined together in the food processor, hopefully to form a semi-sticky, doughy mass, which I will then knead. Now this is a rather pleasant surprise. I wasn't quite expecting it. It's turned into a doughy mass, and I had to pulse a little bit at the start to get it all working, and then not process too fast, but now it's formed a doughy mass, and what I'm going to do is to turn it out onto a board with some baking parchment on it so it doesn't stick, with a little bit of icing sugar on there, kind of like flour what you would use when you were making pastry. And I'm going to knead it, and then I'm going to roll it up and refrigerate it. Alright, so now we've got the marzipan turned out onto some baking paper. It doesn't really have to be baking paper. You can use a marble slab or just a countertop. I'm using it for cleanliness as much as anything else. And I've got some sugar on my hands, just like you put flour on your hands for kneading dough. And I'm just going to knead it. And it's actually almost perfect as it is. It's a little bit sticky, as you can see. I'm just going to add a touch more icing sugar, and then I'm going to knead away, and I will come back. I hope you can see a little bit what I'm doing, but I will come back when I've got it. So that's not quite as, see, it's a little bit sticky right now. I need to get it a little bit smoother. Okay, so I kneaded it a little bit. Doesn't need much. It's not kneading like when you're kneading dough to release gluten or whatever. You're just trying to make sure that everything is nicely combined and that it's not sticky. Just needed a little bit of extra icing sugar to make it a little less sticky. And now you see I've rolled it into a log, and I'm going to wrap it in plastic wrap, put it in the refrigerator, refrigerate overnight, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to show you how to make a few marzipan fruits. Now the reason I want to make the marzipan in the long run is that I want to use it for a cake. I was going to do it for the 12th cake which I made, if you saw that video, but it was just too much. I'm going to turn that 12th cake into a birthday cake, but that won't be until the end of March. So we've got a long time to wait for that, but I'll show you how to make a few marzipan fruits tomorrow. Alright, so the marzipan has been in the refrigerator overnight and is set up. And I've now divided it into 3 portions because I want to make 3 different kind of marzipan fruit. The first step is to color the marzipan, and you can see here that I have put green on this one. I'm going to make it into a green apple, but I have to knead the color into it and make sure that it has a nice green apple look about it. As it happens, the coloring that I'm using is called green apple, so I'm assuming that it's going to work, and I'm going to just knead this and add color as need be until it's a nice green. And then I'm going to make this one into a pear, and I'm going to use yellow, and I'm going to make this one into an orange, and of course I'm going to use orange color. Well, you can see that I have colored the 3 balls. Orange, supposed to be yellow, but it ended up being a little bit mottled, and I thought, well, that's okay, because pears can be kind of mottled like that. And then green for the apple. You do have to take some time to knead the marzipan well so that the color is evenly distributed, and of course that was the problem with the pear, which I left that way because it kind of looks like pears that are sometimes mottled that way. And now all I need to do, I've shaped them. The apple I've rolled, and the orange I've rolled. And the pear I've made pear-shaped, of course. And now I have to finish it off. Let me just show you the pear shape a little bit better. All I'm going to do is to take a small piece of rosemary and just place it in as the stem, and it's done. And likewise with the apple, I've got a clove, and I'm going to just insert it into the top. It's going to shape the top a little bit, and that's the stem complete. For the orange has a rough exterior, and so what I'm going to do, I've got my grater, and I'm just going to roll it around the grater, and it's going to then have a little bit of mottling, like you can see. And for the stem, I'm also going to use a clove, put it in the other way, and we're done. So those are just some ideas of what to do with marzipan. My wife and I used to make marzipan fruit every Christmas, but we also used to make marzipan animals. She made a wonderful marzipan pig once, and even made little piglets and had them suckling. You can do anything you want depending on your artistic and sculptural skills. And meanwhile, if you like this video, please like and subscribe and tell your friends, and I'll be back on Friday with some ramblings of linguistics or philosophy or religion or whatever. Something to do with carnival maybe. Marzipan fruit are certainly wonderful for carnival, and you can think of many other things, and I will too, and I will see you next time.